Welcome back to Old School Sports and our Out of the Park Baseball 24 playthrough of the Buffalo Wings. We are at the start of spring training in 2030. We are just one episode away from the beginning of the new season. And we've got a bunch of players in camp going with a six-man rotation. Otani, Painter, Susana, and Yinger all have their spots in the rotation likely very secure. Yi-Hoo Kim and Sean Sullivan, who spent most of last year as our fourth and fifth starter, both going to get an opportunity to also start in spring training. Andres Munoz back as our closer. Adrian Morejon, important left-handed pitcher. Added Bryce Miller back to the Buffalo team this offseason. And also have a few younger prospects in camp, notably Drew Graham, 23-year-old who was our fourth-round pick in 2024. Looks like he may become a decent back end of the rotation or back end of the bullpen type guy. Was 9-11 with a 4.74 ERA in Double-A last year. And Jorge Carrillo, an international free agent signing of ours in 2025, also looks like he could be a back end of the rotation starter, potentially an interesting arm out of the pen. He spent last year in high A ball, Double A, and Triple A. Was not very good in Triple A. Will probably start there this year, but we're getting a look at those two guys in camp. Also have Nick Hernandez, who we picked up in the Rule 5 draft in camp, fighting for a spot on the team. So a lot of pitchers in camp. A lot of everyday players, too. Also 22 everyday players, 22 pitchers among the 44 that we brought to camp. Pretty much starting our normal lineup against right-handed pitchers. We're playing a lot of different people and a lot of weird positions against left-handed pitchers to try to ensure that we keep our team as healthy as possible. Don't want to overwork anyone in spring training. Want to get a little more position versatility out of some people, trying some different positions in the spring. And we'll see what the 26-man roster looks like when we hopefully get through spring training healthy and well. I'm going to have some interesting decisions to make with both the pitching staff and our everyday players. My hunch is when we do make some cuts, perhaps send some Rule 5 guys draft our total Rule 5 draft guys back. Potentially our money situation will be looking a little better once we actually cut this team down to 26. Perhaps even make a trade or two to get rid of some people that aren't going to quite make the team at the end of spring training. But right now the goal is to just get the team in shape to hopefully pursue a third consecutive playoff appearance and hopefully be heading into the 2030 season with just about everyone on the team healthy and no major injuries. So simple goals. We'll see how we do at achieving them. And we just completed one trade as we're getting close to the end of spring training to free up some money. Those of you who have been following closely won't be surprised at this one. It's a guy whose roster spot has been in jeopardy for a while. Traded away Raylan Perez, right-handed reliever. We had to throw in a guy we picked in the Rule 5 draft, Tyler Zadalis, who likely was not going to make our 26-man roster, as well as a few other players to basically just get back nothing in return. Basically just wanted to get Perez's contract off our books. We probably shouldn't have made an offer to him in arbitration last year. He's been a solid pitcher for us over the years, without a doubt. Had some injury issues last year, but was very effective last season. But his control's just not good. He's fragile at this point physically, and we've got so many good pitchers in camp that just felt that it would be more important for us to get that contract off the books. Hopefully put ourselves in a position where if we are in a pennant race a few months from now, we've got some small amount of potential financial flexibility to take on a very small portion of someone's contract, perhaps. And we've made it to the end of spring training. Finished up well yesterday with a 10-0 win over the Dodgers. Certainly not great on the field, 14-14 record, but the record is not the most important thing in spring training. Keeping the team relatively healthy is. And from that perspective, Rafael Rodillo has had some chronic back soreness. He's a guy we picked in the Rule 5 draft who was unlikely to make our roster. So we've actually been a little weaselly, and we've stashed him on the 60-day IL. So when he's healthy, which will hopefully be in a couple of weeks, we're going to have him on the IL until we get into the summertime, and then hopefully put him on a rehab assignment, see what we're dealing with, and maybe we'll have some injuries by that point and be able to find a roster spot for him. I do like him, but he definitely was not going to make our 26-man roster. Could have put him on the 15-day IL. Might have been a little less weaselly to do that. But at least this way we'll get to know him well when he's rehabbing in our camp. Put him on a 20-day rehab assignment, likely sometime in the end of May, early June, and find out what we've got with him. No other major injuries. Ohtani actually was dealing with some back spasms through spring training. He ended up pitching in a few games for us. Seems like he's completely healthy now, ready to be our number one starter for the season. And other than that, we are all healthy and well. So it's just a matter of pairing the 40 guys who are still in our camp down to the 26 who are going to head north to Buffalo from Florida with the rest of the team. And we figured out the 13 pitchers we're going to be taking north with us. No surprise, Ohtani, Painter, Susana, and Yinger are the top four. We did end up going with Sean Sullivan, the lefty, in the 5-hole. He was real good in the spring, a little better than Ji-Hoo Kim, and we also like the fact that that would give us one lefty in the rotation. Andres Munoz back as our closer, going to try to get him more innings this year. Bryce Miller, Adrian Morejon, and Emerson Talavera all back in the bullpen. Miller after a year away from Buffalo. Kyle Backus back as a lefty. Nick Hernandez, the Rule 5 acquisition, makes the team. Just really like his stuff. We'll see what we can potentially get out of him. And our long relievers are going to be the lefty Harold Melenge and the right-hander Ji-Hoo Kim, both of whom were on our team last season as well. So not a ton of changes to the pitching staff. Susana, who we made the big trade for, Bryce Miller, who we signed as a free agent, and Nick Hernandez, the Rule 5 acquisition, are the only new additions to the team who were not with us a year ago. And we've also made our decisions on our 13-man roster of the position players. We're going to go with the 3 catchers. Adley Rutschman is the starter. And then we've got 2 hopefully big-hitting, not great defensive catchers in the lefty-hitting Basallo and the righty-hitting Tanner Shillette, who we picked up in a trade this offseason. One of those trades that was not necessarily approved, where we gave up the left fielder Alec Burleson. It's not approved by all commenters, but good to have Shillette on the team now. So we're going with weak defense at backup catcher. Hopefully Rutschman will remain healthy and have an even better offensive and defensive season than he did a year ago. Basallo is going to be our starting DH, and Shillette will be our starting first baseman against left-handed pitching. So they'll both be getting some pretty significant playing time in addition to catching. Takao Ota is our first baseman against right-handed pitching. Deshaun Seifu, obviously back, 2-time Gold Glove winner, 2-time All-Star, back as our starting second baseman and leadoff hitter. Easton Swafford makes the team. We picked him up in a trade this offseason as well. He was picked up in the even less popular trade where we dealt away potential third baseman Kevin Made. Swafford's on the team as a utility infielder. He's also the only captain personality that we happen to have at this point. Jace Young going to be our third baseman against right-handed pitching. We're actually going to bench him against left-handed pitching to start. Our shortstop, Marcelo Meyer, is going to move to third base against left-handers. Hopefully a little less wear and tear on the fragile Meyer, and that's going to allow us to get another right-handed bat, Toshimitsu Kato, the young, excellent infielder. A little bit of action with some time at shortstop against left-handed pitching. So Kato and Meyer obviously are shortstops. Nick York is our left fielder against left-handed pitching. Vance Honeycutt in center. Jace Barofin in right field. And Luca Reyes is going to be our left fielder against right-handed pitching. Still deciding whether Barofin or Reyes is going to be the right fielder against left-handed pitching. Could really go with either of those guys. Barofin's more proven. Reyes may have a little bit more upside, and he's also younger, so might be a little more important to get him the at-bats. But those are the 13 guys we're going north with. The most difficult cut was to send Lang Choi back down. I think he's probably ready for the majors. Hit 307 with 19 homers in AAA for us last year. Just got caught in a numbers game, and we did want to make sure that we had that one captain personality on the team in Swafford. So that's kind of what helped Swafford make the team over Lang Choi. And though I think that Choi is a better offensive player at this point, but we'll see how things go. Going to be interesting to see how this all works out, but we do have our 26-man roster now, and with the moves we made, have freed up a little bit of money, getting it down to 26. So we're going to bump up scouting one last little bit to 15 million, and we're also going to bump player development up another 500,000 to 29.5 million. Help those budgets a little bit, and we'll still have a little bit of money to potentially play with as we close in on the trade deadline and try to see if this team can be victorious this year. Have a few days when we're going to go ahead and go through the whole organization before we actually start the season and get all of our minor league teams set. We'll take a quick look at the preseason predictions here at the end of spring training. This is probably before everyone has pared their rosters down. Ooh, the Nashville Stars, the other expansion team. I know some of you want me to check in on them more frequently, and I haven't, but they're projected to win 86 games in this sim. Very boring American League. Every team expected to be between 72 and 87 wins this year. Our Buffalo Wings projected for 89. The two-time defending champion Cincinnati Reds only projected to be a 500 team. So not necessarily impressed with the quality of this simulation. It looks like we will be a playoff team if these predictions come true, but I think that they tend to be fairly inaccurate. Doesn't look like we're expected to have any of the top hitters in the National League in that simulation. And we're also not projected to have any of the top pitchers in the National League in that simulation. Still get to 89 wins, though. So we will see whether or not we can beat that number and get back to 90 for a third consecutive season with 90-plus wins this year. If we're able to get to 90, regardless of how many games we end up winning this year, the goal is to ultimately get back to the playoffs for a third consecutive season. Even if we have a losing record, as long as we get into the playoffs, we will consider that some measure of success. So we've still got high expectations for the Wings, and we will find out what type of start we're able to get the 2030 season off to in our next episode. Until then, thanks so much for watching, and hope you have a great day.